Only in America.
Only in America.
Only in America.
Only in America.
Only America.
Only in America.
This week, we talk to the Sikh Captain America, who uses his powers of perceptual confusion to open doors for discussion and moments of introspection.
And my hope really is that, look, we don't have to agree on everything, but our stories do intersect. And one of my basic premises that I really share a lot in my talks is in our vulnerabilities, in our fears and anxieties are one of the biggest connections.
From the National Immigration Forum, I'm Ali Noorani, and I will not be confused for the captain of anything. But this is Only in America. We are back, and I hope you had a fantastic summer. We spent August and September developing some really exciting episodes, and I'm going to tell you more about it at the end of the show. But right now, let's tell the story of an iconic superhero, Sikh Captain America.
The best villain an American superhero should fight is hate and intolerance. That is the most obvious villain to me at the time, and even more so even today.
That is Vishavjit Singh. He's a cartoonist, writer, performance artist, and creator of Sikhtoons. Wouldn't you know it? Vishavjit's origin story starts right here in Washington, D.C.
We all are stories, and that's really how I see it. My story started actually in Washington, D.C., born there, spent the first 4 years of my life there, born to parents from India, to a family that follows the Sikh faith, Punjabi heritage, that's a culture. And parents moved to India when I was 4. I grew up mostly in India. I learned a lot about Indian culture, Punjabi culture there. But one of the most formative things that really did happen to me that I didn't realize at the time, 1984, is when there was a political conflict happening between the Sikh minority and the Indian state at the time. And massive genocidal killings happened in the year 1984. We survived death. On November 1st, 1984, we had mobs that came to our house following the assassination of the Indian Prime Minister. That was the first time I saw human beings up close being basically, ready to kill each other in the name of whatever, right? Philosophies, religion, you name it. And I moved back to the US after high school, looking forward to going to college, looking forward to being back in my land of birth and thinking, hey, this is going to be a better place and I'm going to be accepted as for who I am.
But things didn't quite work out as he had hoped, which in turn led Vishavjit on an almost mythic journey, not unlike other superheroes, to fight back against xenophobia.
I was first in the city of LA, very diverse, Southern California. I got greeted by strangers telling me to go back home, genie, raghead, laughing on my face. Started college at Ohio State University, went to University of California system after that, Berkeley, moved to Connecticut, studied public health, switched to technology as a career. And I found my center in my late 20s. I said, okay, I'm not going to run away from what I was born into. I'm going to accept on my own terms. So I embraced the faith I was born into in my late 20s. And by the time I embraced it and put my turban back on after 10 years, I was living very close to New York City, working in Westchester County, 15 miles north of New York City. The month was August and the year was 2001. And then 9/11 happens a month later and my life was turned upside down. I did not leave home for 2 weeks because I didn't feel comfortable leaving home. And then 9/11 really started a new journey. I became a cartoonist in the aftermath of 9/11 because I knew people had ignorance about Sikhs. What I did not understand is why people have to take their vulnerability out on me. And I understood we were all vulnerable in the aftermath of 9/11. It's natural, right? Our nation was attacked. It's taken me a long time to figure out how do you deal with other people's vulnerability and your vulnerability and be constructive in that vulnerability. And so I use cartooning to create images that do not exist in the American cultural and entertainment landscape. People full of turban and beards who are not bad guys. They are just American like anybody else, dreams and aspirations. And yes, they're not perfect, but they're like anybody else.
His cartooning then had him go from Vishavjit Singh to becoming Sikh Captain America. Okay, I'm going to stop doing that.
So the year is 2011, and I've been cartooning for under 10 years, 9 years at the time. And I am going to my first New York City Comic Con, one of the biggest comic festivals on the planet. And some of my fans have been telling me, Vishwajit, you got to go to the New York City Comic Con. So the first Captain America movie had come out that year in the summer, and I dream in turban and beard. So I'm thinking, oh, that poster with Captain America. What if Captain America had a turban and beard? So I created this poster, had a catchy caption, and I took it to the Comic Con. It was interesting. I don't know what was going to happen. I had this poster behind me in the booth, and it did something weird. Some people gave thumbs up. Some people were like, why does Captain America have a turban and beard? Some said, why is Captain America Muslim? I said, well, this Captain America is Sikh, but Captain America could be Muslim. Nothing wrong with that. But it started conversations, and there was a photographer who came by. She was actually doing a photo essay on Sikhs, and I was one of her characters, and she took photos. And in passing, she goes, oh, Vishwajit, you should come back next year dressed up as Captain America. And I said to her very emphatically, no. And she heard it, and she didn't push me. And I knew my reasons. I've been skinny all my life. I've been bullied. I've survived a genocide. I've been the other in India, in the US, land of my birth. Post 9/11, it's been even more intense. So why would I want to dress up as a superhero, and especially in a skin-tight uniform? It took her a year to convince me to do it. There was a massacre that happened at a Sikh Gurdwara, house of worship in Milwaukee in August 2012. And I wrote that really hit me hard. It was a Sunday, and I really felt like this could have been me. A white supremacist walked into this house of worship, killed 6 people without saying a single word. He just walked in, killed people, and then he engaged the cops, and they eventually killed him. And I wrote an op-ed, which was published in Seattle Times, basically saying we in America need a new superhero who's not white, who's going to be either Jewish, African-American, Hispanic, Asian, or even with a turban and beard, Muslim, and he's going to fight hate. Fiona reads this, Fiona Booth, the photographer, and she emailed me saying, Vishwajit, this is amazing. Please reconsider. And I said, okay, I need to get out of my own way. I'm stopping myself. So I agreed, reluctantly agreed. We went out, and it was like a Twilight Zone. I mean, it was like I was in a parallel universe. Suddenly people treated me differently. Strangers came up to me, gave me hugs. They took photos of me without permission. Police officers took photos of me. I got access to an FDNY truck. I got pulled into a wedding. I mean, it was like, wow, what's going on here? I'm just wearing a fictional superhero's uniform. But I realized that day that stories are powerful. I mean, stories of fictional superheroes are powerful, that it can change real life behavior. And then since that day, I've been just getting invites from late night comedy shows or schools or festivals. Come and share your story. And I would not be, where I'm today, and even doing what I do today, if it were not for that decision to don this uniform and confuse Americans into seeing me as one of their own, not judging me based on my turban and beard. Maybe they are, but now they're confused. They're like, are you American? Are you patriotic? Are you trying to make a political point? We don't know. But it started so many conversations, and that's what my goal is as an artist. I don't want to give you answers. I want you to think. I want you to explore and maybe question your stereotypes about what I look like.
Vishavjit has been surprised at the way just starting a conversation can lead to deeper and unexpected connections.
Years down the line, I'm shooting a documentary film called Red, White, and Beard. This one day, we're on a subway. We're on a subway ride up and down Manhattan, and this couple spotted me the second time. They said, we've seen you twice today, and what are the odds of that happening? And the couple says, what's going on? And I very briefly introduce myself. The gentleman Googles me, emails me 24 hours later, introducing himself, saying, hey, I saw you today. I met you. I was really moved. I Googled you. I find out what you do. And he introduced himself as a police officer from Arizona who was visiting New York City for the first time since 2001. He was brought into, his specialty is in psychology and psych support for cops. And so he was brought in to support the first responders. And he was coming back for the first time to pay respects, to go to Ground Zero, and to also watch a soccer game. He introduced himself as a Christian, crew-cut, Christian, shy, but he said, I connect to your Captain America vision more than any other version of Captain America. And to me, that was profound. And I emailed him back. I interviewed him for a piece I wrote. He said, me and my wife love what you do. When you come to Arizona, stay with us. We became friends. And to me, these are connections and relationships that tell me we have a lot more in common beyond the sort of the surface level differences that become so loud that we just say, okay, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to sit down with you. I believe we have connections that if we really explore, we can really start to have hard, meaningful conversations. Are we going to agree on everything? No. Are we going to be one big happy family? Perhaps not. But we can certainly be in a better spot to have the hard conversation and agree that, hey, we can agree on certain basic facts. We definitely need more voting rights. People should have the right to vote. Our democracy should not allow what happened on the 6th, and we should all agree to it and say, look, that was absolutely wrong. I don't support it. And a whole lot of other things. Anti-black racism is one of the biggest problems in America. I go through a lot of intolerance, but I know what I go through is nowhere close to what African Americans go through, because there's a whole history of racism and black and white racism that it just, and we all need to have these very difficult, honest conversations that anti-black racism is not only something that Republicans or right wingers do, it is permeating the entire American society. Even progressives at times unknowingly are engaging in anti-black racism. We need to have those conversations, and for that we need to have connection in our stories.
That uniform and, well, the superhero identity that it fosters has now led Vishavjit to create and produce American Sikh, an animated short about seeking acceptance in an intolerant world. For Vishavjit, it's just another way to tell the American story.
We all go through ups and downs. We all have struggles and triumphs, and people connect with those different parts. And they're like, okay, you're one of us. I mean, yeah, sure, you have a turban and beard, but Americans are one of the most diverse families on the planet. We all have similar stories of immigration that might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations, but they're very similar in many ways. Of course, privileges change and how you fit in or not. There's a lot of complexity as well. We're unique and different at the same time. And what I find is storytelling is one of the most effective tools to build bridges. I have engaged people who I know politically, we have nothing in common, but our stories connect. And I think that is why I love storytelling, is that I can sit with somebody who me and them politically have nothing in common, but then we find connection in our stories, and they're like, you know what, I can sit and have conversation with you. And maybe my hope is that they won't stereotype me just based on what I look like or my political affiliations. They will say, okay, I connect to this part of Vishwajit's story. He's an interesting guy, or he went through this.
Vishavjit also hopes that American Sikh can help build bridges through common connections.
My hope really is that, look, we don't have to agree on everything, but our stories do intersect. And one of my basic premises that I really share a lot in my talks is, in our vulnerabilities, in our fears and anxieties are one of the biggest connections. So I believe there is a lot of fear and anxiety that certain segment of white America has about people of color. And, well, people of color have fear and anxiety about other people of color communities as well. So let's find common ground in our biases and prejudices. We all have biases and prejudices. Maybe let's talk about that. And in my talks, I'm very honest about my biggest challenge among many challenges is anti-black racism that I picked from two cultures I was raised in, American and South Asian. Let's talk about that. Let that be a starting point. That is one of the few main messages I have is, look, here, this is Vishavjit Singh. I do Sikh Captain America. I'm an American. I have a very complicated story. So do all of you. Let's poke at each other. Let's explore. Let's ask questions as opposed to just judging each other by looks and party affiliations, and find that common ground and have the difficult conversations. And hopefully we create even a better version of America than we see today.
Because finding common ground, even when that means being vulnerable, is incredibly important and challenging, which, as I told him, even I find hard to think about sometimes.
Listening to you, I just realized that I have a deep insecurity and fear of wearing a skin-tight costume.
A lot of us do. Trust me, I still don't feel super comfortable doing that. But having done that many times, I know what to expect. So I do it. But yes, I have body image issues, which really made it hard for me to do what I do. But yeah, we all have vulnerabilities. And if we can get comfortable sharing our vulnerabilities with each other, I think we can heal each other. We can create a better healing space collectively in our communities and in our cities and nation.
Vishavjit Singh is a writer, artist, and creator of Sikhtoons. Please check out the Kickstarter page for American Sikh on our website. It is such an incredibly cool project that, well, I hope all of us support. We'll also link to the Kickstarter page in this episode's show notes. Thank you again for listening and coming back after our break. Like I said, I hope you had a great summer. We have some great and some diverse episodes coming up, including stories from those helping Afghan evacuees, dairy farmers across the US, and a refugee school and sports team in Ohio. If you like what you hear, subscribe to Only in America wherever you are listening to this episode, and please leave us a review. Only in America is produced and edited by Katie Lutz, Joanna Taylor, and Becca Wall. Our artwork and graphics are designed by Carla Leha. Me, I'm Ali Nurani. I will talk to you next week.
Support for the National Immigration Forum comes from the Carnegie Corporation of New York, supporting innovations in education, democratic engagement, and strengthening international peace and security. And from Humanity United. When humanity is united, we can bring a powerful force for human dignity.